Alright guys, today we are going to be making a planet with nothing but procedural textures. So first, we're going to delete the default cube as we always do. Then we're going to hit UV sphere, hit shade smooth, scale it up a bit if you'd like. For the time being, I'm just going to delete the light source. And actually no, I'm going to convert the light source into a sun. And it's not going to be that powerful. Maybe at 5. Right. Because when you're in space, there's not multiple light sources usually. It's usually just a star that's shining on something. I'm just getting the lighting out of the way. But we don't have to do it later. Let's see how that looks in Eevee. I think we could scroll it a little bit over to the... There we go, because I want that nice sort of horizon line. Alright, now let's go back into look dev mode and everything. Now we're going to select the material. It's the same one the default cube had. And then we're going to go into shader editor. And then we are going to hit texture and noise texture. Now before you get started, I'm going to take the scale down to about 1 and the detail up to about 20. And then we are going to go into shader, or no, we're going to go to converter and color ramp. And we're just going to hit color into FAC and then color into base color. Right, this gives us the ability to see what we're doing. I'm going to go from linear to ease because planets don't have super hard shorelines like that often. There's a slight gradient, a slight slope to it, if you will. And we're just going to select how much of each we want. Now me personally, I'll choose the black to be the ground actually, and the white to be the water. So you can do it differently, but you'll have to set it up slightly differently, kind of reverse to what I'm doing. How does it look in camera view? Not too bad. The closer you get, the harder the lines are going to be. So I like to keep it almost like there's some shallow and some differences in the height of the ground itself too. Another thing you can do before we go further is go into vector and mapping and input texture coordinate. And you go from object to vector and obviously vector to vector. This gives you much more control over what you're doing, and this you can choose 3D or 4D. 2D makes it look bad, obviously, and 1D you get no result that way if you're working with a 3D object. 4D works. You can create some things with 4D and 3D. It just depends on which one you like better. It really doesn't matter in a case like this. I'm just going to stick with 3D for the time being though. And like I said, the white is going to be the ocean and the black is going to be the ground. So we're going to make that green. Now with that in mind, I'm going to have to determine where exactly each of these goes to make it look a little bit more like an actual planet. And something like that looks a little bit better, I think. It's a bit saturated at the time for the time being, but that's fine. We can always change that later. Maybe we could take the saturation of the green down, or make the darkness, make it a little darker green. Yeah, there we go. And then we're going to duplicate this color ramp, take it down here, make sure it's plugged into the noise texture still, The green is going to be all the way white now, so just take down the top two values to get rid of the color. And the blue is going to be black, so just take the value all the way down. And then we can hook that into the roughness shader. So now, when we go into Eevee mode, you'll see that the ocean is really shiny, but the ground isn't. And we can adjust the amount of this, because like obviously the ground isn't that not shiny, and the ocean isn't super shiny either, so we're gonna take the ocean's shininess level just a little bit up and the ground's shininess level just a little down. That way there's some reflection going on, but it's not, you know, just trying to make it look a little more natural. Another thing we can also do with that is go into vector and bump map and take the bump map down to maybe strength of 0.1 for the time being, and just hook that up into height and then that into normal. And as you can see, we have a bit of a bump map going on there, and it doesn't look half bad. Doesn't look great, but doesn't look half bad. If you don't like where the textures are or how they look, you can simply change the location of them by simply doing it this way, or you change the rotation of it. I myself prefer to have an ocean on the top, because Earth's is kind of like that. And there we are. It's not too shabby, I don't think. Just trying to make it look somewhat like legitimate landmass. That almost looks like it's Africa if we're connected to Antarctica right there. So that's not too bad. Then what we can do is we can add another color ramp. Also have this one on ease and hook it up into the noise texture. And I'll duplicate it. And for the time being, because I have a potato computer, I'm just going to unhook the normals. There we go. And then we are going to go into color, mix RGB. We're actually going to have two of these. We're going to move the principal shader BSF and stuff out just a little ways. We have more room to work with. And then this spec is going to be hooked into what is it? Color 2. And this one, or no, this is going to be hooked up into this spec. This goes into that spec, and this is going to go into color 2, and this is going to go into color 1. Alright, so this is going to be for the ground. It's going to be a bit darker green there. And this is going to be for the ocean. We're going to make a bit of a darker blue than what we got going on already. And now we can select how much of each we want. Alright, this gives it a little extra texture almost to what we're doing. You see that? Just add a little bit just to make it look like there's a little more going on. And you can do this an infinite amount of times pretty much if you want multiple colors going on. And I also want to make it look like there's different sea levels, so we're going to adjust the blue a bit too. So as you can see, there's basically like shallow shores and deep oceans now. Right. You don't want it too much because obviously it looks ugly. So just keep it sort of minimal, just enough to give it some extra texture without it being ridiculous. Alright, let's hook the normal map back up to it just to see what it looks like. And it looks like a planet. Yeah, it looks really good in my opinion. Right, doesn't it? Alright, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go into, we're going to copy this sphere. We're going to choose a completely different material for it. We want to make it bigger, but not a whole lot bigger. This will be named, well, this will be named Clouds. This sphere will be named Planet. And then we're also going to copy and paste the clouds and name that Atmosphere. And first we're gonna hide Atmosphere, and we're gonna focus on the clouds for the time being. Right? And actually we can hide the planet too. Go into look depth mode. And we're going to go into texture and noise, add a noise texture again. And a color ramp. Color to back, color, base color, there we go. We're going to want some strong detail again perhaps. And just the white will be the clouds, the black will be the break in the clouds. So keep that in mind. So you're going to want sort of some minimalistic clouds here. And I'm definitely not going to use linear for clouds either. There we go, looks a bit more feathered on the edges. And you can choose a scale, maybe we can take it down to 1, or maybe we can take it up to 10. 10 makes a little bit more sense here, I think. Give it some clouds, but we don't want to hide the planet. Now, we can do all the stuff with the same stuff we did with the bump maps and stuff. On the planet, maybe take it down to even further than what we had. The planet, hook that up into the height, hook that up into normal. But most importantly, we're going to make this transparent. First, we're going to come down here, have it on alpha blend, and the shadows on alpha clip. And then we're going to hit the color into the alpha. The black is the transparent. The white is what will show up. There we go. And when we bring planet back up, you see now that the planet has clouds. And it looks great. It looks somewhat realistic. We could make the clouds a little bit closer to the planet, but I think they're fine the way they are. We can adjust that later anyway. So now we're going to go into atmosphere mode. And we're going to choose a new material for it. This is also going to be alpha blend, and there's not going to be a shadow. And we're going to just get rid of principal BSDF, and we are going to go into shader, and we are going to hit translucent BSDF. We're going to hit bright blue, depending on which color you want your atmosphere. We're also going to hit Control-Shift-N to reverse the normals, and hit backface culling. So now, when we have all of these things together, what we're going to get, hopefully, is a nice planet with an atmosphere. Now there's a few extra things that we need to do to make this really sell. Did you notice I'm putting it back into this view, the no texture view, just because my computer is a potato. But we are going to go back into shader editor. We are going to go into world, and if you have a space texture, what you're going to want to do with it is, well, use it obviously. So environment texture, open. There we go. And one last thing, maybe the atmosphere shouldn't be such a high color, so we can turn it down just a little bit. Right, because we want the we don't want the atmosphere showing up from the other side. Right, because when you look at actual pictures of Earth from space, you can't see the atmosphere at night. So we want to take that down just a little bit. There we go. That looks convincing enough. We can turn on ambient occlusion if we'd like, green space reflections, bloom, all that stuff if you'd like to. And the only other thing I can think of is to add subdivision surface modifiers. So just add those real quick. And when you actually render it, it should look a bit better. I found out to make it just a little bit better, you want to take the roughness map of the color ramp here, you know, the one that we have hooked into the bump map, and you want to take the white down just a little bit. That way we have some actual texture bumps on the ground here, and none on the ocean, of course, because from that distance you don't really see bump maps from the waves. You know, just look at pictures of the Pacific Ocean from the International Space Station, you just don't see them. So this is a much better rendering, I think. It's also good to have the black that we set for the roughness maps to actually be more gray, because it kind of makes the sunlight that's reflecting off it not look so perfectly round. You know, there's actual sort of a gradient in the reflection there, which we also see from the International Space Station reflection of the ocean. So that's pretty much where I have it. Now this isn't 100% photorealistic, obviously. From space I'm not so certain that you could see shallow and dark parts of the ocean, you know, deep parts of the ocean, the way that we have here, but this could easily be an alien planet where the waters really are this shallow, this far out. So it doesn't have to be exactly Earth-like, but use Earth as a reference, because it's the only planet like this that we actually know of.